G'day guys, it's Mitchell again from Australasian Dirt Bike Magazine. We are here today for part 2 of our 300cc Enduro Shootout. This is the hard Enduro Shootout. We're at my personal cattle farm and we've got a pretty good creek and kind of valley set up to do all our hard Enduro testing in. Let the manufacturers choose which model they would like to have here. So first up, we have the Sherco Factory. That's the 300 SE Factory. They've chosen that one over the racing. Now, Beta have decided to go with the 300 X Pro instead of the 300 race model, so that is their more trail-oriented version. And then if we move a little bit further along here, we have the Fantic XE300. Now, this is the injected Fantic that's got a lot of talk online, and we tested it yesterday. We're looking forward to seeing how it goes in hard enduro. Across here, we have the Husqvarna KTM and the GASGAS, and like in the 300 Enduro Shootout, we have a 250 Husqvarna because we could not get a hold of a 300. We have the KTM Champion Edition 300 EXC, and we also have the GASGAS EC300 standard version. Next along is the TM EN300. This is actually the injected 300 two-stroke as well. Now TM make an injected and a carbureted model. We have the injected one here today, and we'll do some separate testing on the carbureted model. We're looking forward to testing all these bikes today, guys. We have so much different terrain and it's quite technical and tricky, and we think it'll be a great test for the hard enduro bikes to really put them through their paces and figure out which bike will be best in all the snotty stuff. So stay tuned, guys, as we walk through what we liked and what we didn't like about each model. All right, well, here we are, 300 two-stroke hard enduro shootout. We've got all the contenders here. And well, we were just talking about the TM. Let's start with the TM. Josh, you're on it. You haven't ridden it too much, so let's start with Briggsy. What do you think of the TM?
Night and day, polar opposite of what I thought about yesterday. Yesterday, I just couldn't get the flow with it, but in this stuff, the torquey motor actually really shined. And the suspension was quite good. The ergos and all that felt a lot better at a slower pace just in here, which shows me that the motor's plenty capable and the chassis could be refined to make it work in all conditions, really.
All right, so yesterday, boys, we said that the TM lacked a little bit of bottom end. Did you, when we were trying to wind it right out and you're trying to go fast up hills, in this slower groveling stuff, no one noticed that as much today, the lack of bottom end?
We leaned it out a bit this morning, so that was a good thing. I think that sort of brought it up. And I got him to turn the idle up a little bit too, and I think that was a help. Maybe that was yesterday when you come in low revs, it was the idle could have been a bit higher, and then that way it was sort of already past that little bit of a lag off the bottom. But yeah, like Briggsy said today, that bike is much more like just, I don't know, suited to this stuff.
Yeah.
Than we had it dialed in yesterday.
Yeah. Interesting. And Gibbo, you were the only one that said you didn't quite gel with the fork today. Some of us found it good.
Just for me, I'm not the heaviest guy. I just find it a little bit stiff in the initial part of the stroke. But having said that, once the bike's got momentum and you just let it run a bit, you kind of load the motor up and let the motor pull the bike through this creek section. I enjoyed it much better, heaps more today on soft mat than I did yesterday, and more open stuff on fast mat. And easy to ride, but it's still, in my opinion, a pro level bike. It's got so much power.
Cool. All right, well, let's just talk about the bike you're on then, the Sherco. What did everyone think of the Sherco for hard enduro? Probably most of the comments that I heard coming out was that you can pick the manufacturers that have been focusing on hard enduro because the bikes seem to feel better in that kind of setting. What did you think, Gibbo, of the Sherco?
I think that out of all the bikes, I was super impressed with this bike's bottom end. It runs a 38mm carburetor, 40 pilot, so it's got plenty of fuel. It just doesn't quit, you know, up this stuff. I went the second part of this hill, which was still quite steep. I just sat off the back in third gear with my finger just on the clutch lever, and it just will go and go and go. It's amazing how well it climbs.
Graham, what are your thoughts? I know you were also a fan of that bike.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably my riding style too. I don't ride carbies at all. But yeah, I just found it was maybe just runs a little bit rich. You got to keep cleaning it out, like when you're constantly on low revs. But it's super tractable through there. Like and up the hills, that is probably the most comfortable bike. Like even the front wheel off the ground, whatever, it's just so balanced, so planted.
Yep.
The power is really predictable for me.
Braco?
Yeah, same for me. I found the seat was a bit hard. With the new with that new subframe and doing this stuff, you sort of, I don't know, compared to yesterday, like when you're up and down off the seat, you don't really notice it, but when you're sort of doing this groveling stuff, you sort of are on the seat a bit more, I feel like, and so I noticed that. And it's a bit thicker through the RSN too, but overall for me, yeah, that bike is just, it feels like it's very similar sort of feel, like you said, the three manufacturers like Sherco, Beta and the KDM group, I feel like they're the ones that have focused, well, they have, on the extreme stuff over the years, and you can just tell, like, you go up a hill and the bike just feels connected, like the clutch, throttle, it all is just, it all just works in sync with that one, this Beta, and like I said, the KDM. All those motors is just really, really tractable, and you can torque them down to nothing. TM was pretty close to that for me. Moving across to the Fantic, it just, it's the new kid on the block, and it just needs a little bit more development, but still. Yeah,
well, let's talk about the Fantic then. Graham, you're on it. What were your first impressions of the Fantic in hard enduro?
I felt the suspension, for some reason, the KYB in this just works best. It's super soft, but really forgiving, right through there. I'm struggling with the 5-speed box, finding it, but going through all the slow stuff in first gear was really nice. But it's just missing that mid-range.
Yeah.
As soon as you need that something in between, it's like right off the bottom, or it's just right up the top.
Yeah.
There's nothing in between.
So Briggsy, how does that make climbing hills on the Fantic? When you feel that, how does it make it climbing hills on the Fantic when it lacks that bottom to mid?
It's a challenge. Yeah.
Lots of clutch.
Lots of pushing.
Yeah.
Spend a fair bit of time on a hill, but it'll get up. You've just got to manage it. It's very throttle control in your hand, finding that right point and trying to stay on that point. So I feel like these three, like the Sherco, the Beta and the KDM, have a window that you can sit in where you can sort of idle up a bit higher or lower revs, where that's sort of either right on the bottom or it's just a light switch where it's go and you lighten up the rear and trying to lose traction, just struggling to get up. So. And
it's the only bike here, I guess the Austrians as well, but it's TBI injection and fuel. How did you guys think of the fueling on the Fantic?
I think it's a little bit rich in some spots, but then it sort of like clears out. So it is, I just think like they've got a very similar engine to the YZ250 two-stroke. So for me, they've tried to refine that into something, and honestly, like, it's just more refinement, I think, and you'll get it. I mean, how long has it taken for these bikes to get where they're at? And that's the first try. I think it's a pretty good effort for a first try. I think they're just bits and pieces. In the current state, I don't think it's really suited to this particular stuff. It's definitely more suited to the more open, race tracks or just more open, flowy stuff. But I think they're on a good thing. It's just a matter of getting even though it doesn't have it, getting the jetting, I suppose. Getting it a bit more crisp and clean, and then once you get that, the rest will come pretty easy. So
let's talk about the bike you're on then.
I actually like the map switch on that. Is a big difference too.
Okay.
I actually noticed that.
On the Fantic, that is.
Yeah, the map switch works really well.
Cool. Let's talk about the Beta. You're on the Beta now. That is our defending champ, not the X Pro. The last time we did a 300 two-stroke hard enduro shootout was 3 years ago. It was the standard RR. Yep. What did you think of the Beta today and this hard enduro stuff?
Compared to, obviously they got the two, so they've changed over for this. This is, the X Pro is, the Beta's, I suppose, this is what the Beta's made for, the X Pro. It's pretty good. It's close to the top for me. Everything about it's easy. Yes, the suspension's way too soft for what I want to do out on a track, but for this stuff, being softer, feels very light, and the boys at Beta have got it jetted about as perfect as you can have it, and so it's just, the power is everything you want it to be, and you can just crawl it down to nothing. Doesn't clog up or anything. It's always clean, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Twin spark. Gibbo, you're a Beta man as your own personal bike back home. Yeah, that is. That's a single sparker.
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's what I mean. Like a more traditional motor, and it's pretty good.
And so comparing the twin sparky race that we rode yesterday to this one, did you notice much of a difference?
Not in overall power. I mean, the race is a bit snappier, but in terms of this discipline, hard enduro, for me, I find that motor, it's not like please everybody in terms of boring. It does everything really, really well. It's got a stinging top end up on top, but it will crawl on the rocks. I got through the Rocky Creek section better on that than I did on any other bike. The motor it runs so clean. I agree with Braco. The jetting it's as close to perfect as two-stroke jetting gets. Spot on.
Anyone else? Any other thoughts on the Beta that contradict any of that?
No, just the shorter seat actually makes a big
Yeah.
difference in this stuff.
It's a touch shorter. How good was it?
20 mil shorter.
Yep. And they've softened that seat up. Remember, Betas came with that wood plank that you sat on?
Down today, like the seat, it's a pleasure to sit on. It's not a fucking two before.
Okay.
You'd find your limits from the suspension.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like,
But then that's they said that to us in the launch, that it's like it's not built for.
Yeah.
That's why if you want that, you
Get
gotta
the
buy
race.
Yeah,
I think the racing would be
Okay
solid
in
for
here.
this stuff.
Yeah.
But again, I think it would be just too much bike.
Yep.
You know, it's sort of in between how that thing,
That
the
would be
Fantic
what
with this. I think the racing would sit sort of right. You know,
Yep.
Yeah.
in between. It still
Yeah.
I
runs
like
super.
one the race closer to the Sherco.
Yeah. The
It's
Sherco
just
factory.
that twin plug I noticed runs it a little cleaner than the Sherco.
I mean, it's just a final point for me as someone who's owned Betas for 10 years. I was worried about this bike, and with my mates, we were like, what's it supposed to be doing? Who's it for?
Yeah.
But now, after riding in this stuff, I totally get it. Like, it's sitting exactly between a race and the X Trainer.
Yep.
And it sits in that spot on purpose, and they've done it really well, in my opinion.
And I think if you're going to want to save a little bit of money and you know you'll never be doing anything else but this stuff, it's probably still a pretty viable option. All right, let's move to the Austrian group. Briggsy, you're on one, and you're on the KTM, which was probably my favourite of the Austrians. I found that the power was just like so linear, so smooth, and the suspension was like a lounge chair. It's pretty good through all this stuff. What do you think?
The refinement they've done on this since the last hard enduro shootout we done is incredible.
Yeah, TPI to TBI, hey?
Yeah, and the injection and the motor is the biggest standout. Like KTM have always had a pretty decent chassis and ergos and suspension, in my opinion, and this thing's just refined that well that it's kind of between yesterday and today. I'd have to say it's the all-rounder of the bunch.
Yeah.
It was plush in the bush, it was fine on the little motocross track, and today it's excelled as well. And the grip and just the feel of it has been incredible. So yeah, I'm struggling. It's between this, the Beta, and the Sherco for different reasons. But if I had to ride one all the time and varying things, I'd probably go to the KTM. For me.
What everyone else think of the KTM?
I loved it. Again, you've just heard, I've ridden kart bikes for the last decade, and I've only ridden TPI bikes, 6, 7, 8 times. I gel with that quicker than any other TPI bike that I've ridden. The suspension's superb, the front brake's amazing, and it's got really good chassis balance as well. And again, it's got more power than I'll ever need. And it's also the build quality. It looks really good.
Yeah.
Rock solid.
All right, guys. Well, let's talk about the Husky and the Gasser then. If we think the KTM is probably the pick of the Austrian groups, why weren't these ones quite as good as the KTM, the GASGAS here and the Husqvarna? GB?
Pretty much for me, the way that KTM or the KTM group, I guess, have framed it is that you've got the GASGAS is the cheaper option, and that's what it feels like when you ride it. This is supposed to be the premium option, but of course it's a 250, so the kind of nice to have that here because I actually thought this was pretty good through the creek compared to the 300. In some ways, there's a little bit it felt lighter, but it's pretty much exactly what you read about with the fact that they were aiming for, cheaper bike, the GASGAS. It feels cheaper to ride. The mapping's a bit slower or whatnot. That sort of definitely feels like the more beginner section. The KTM feels like the premium, and I think the Husky, if the Husky was a 300, I think it would be very, very hard to pick between the two. But I mean, like what Briggsy said, this is easily the best version of the 300 EXC that I've ridden since they went away from the carbies. It finally feels like a two-stroke should. It's very similar to how the really well carbureted bikes feel. Like for some reason, I'm all about the carby feel, just to snap off the bottom and that. And I really think that the KTM 25 models, they've gotten it pretty damn close, and it's pretty good.
Graham, you were going to say something on that?
Just I agree with Braco with the nimbleness on that bike. Like if that was a 300, you'd have that bottom end and going through that creek. Like I ride an orange bike, and I just found that ergonomic. It just felt more planted through there.
Yeah.
Easy to turn, easy to steer.
And so how did it differ then to this one, the GASGAS?
So I actually didn't mind it through there. So off the bottom, it's real throaty. that bike. It felt okay off the bottom, but it's entry level, right? Again, it was my question about
Yeah.
why they have it.
Yeah.
Because you get it, and it's got nothing on it. You have to spend $1,000 on it straight away anyway to bring it into this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So for a hard enduro shootout,
Hand guards, bash plate, all the stuff. Yeah, it doesn't have a thermo fan. Yep.
You know, like, but it rode really well through there, and I was surprised. I thought the open cartridge shock, it's a real improvement over the 21s. Like, actually, I enjoyed that. I thought it was going to be crap, and it was pretty good.
I kind of thought that was going to be good in this kind of terrain, and it was. I said yesterday that's one of the best open cartridge forks I've ridden, and for that kind of slow-paced terrain, it soaks up the bumps really, really well. The up on top, it's a bit bouncy and boingy, but when you're riding slowly and you're looking for particularly front wheel traction, I enjoyed it. The motors, I find it a bit busy and maybe a bit noisy perhaps, and I feel the bike's a tad top heavy when you're in this kind of stuff. As for the 250, that was my second favourite bike of the day. I don't think it's lacking for me and how my level of rider. It's not lacking any bottom end at all. Like coming out of the creek at the top there, the last little over the little bit of twig that's sticking out, and then just jumping over that last fork log. In second gear, it's got the same amount of pop up, like lift the front wheel as any of the other bikes for mine. So I really enjoyed it, and I was surprised by that.